right, everybody. Welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is E.R. Anderson. I'm the executive director of Charis Circle. Charis Circle is a nonprofit programming arm of Charis Books, and Charis Books is the South's oldest independent feminist bookstore. We're coming to you today to celebrate Eve Falls First, which is one of Fiona Zedde's newer books, because we actually have another book that we also are going to hype today, but this is her book that came out in March. Fiona is here in conversation with Anondra Cat Williams, who's one of our absolute faves. And obviously, Fiona is one of our forever faves. Fiona is a former Charis employee and forever in our heart Charis fam. So we're really excited to have her here with us. If somehow you don't know Fiona, Fiona is a Jamaican-born and Atlanta-raised author of over 30 sapphic novels, novellas, and short stories, including the Lambda Award-winning finalist Bliss and Every Dark Desire. Her novel, Dangerous Pleasures, received a Publisher's Weekly starred review and was the winner of an About.com Reader's Choice Award for Best Lesbian Novel/Memoir. Her latest books, Eve Falls First and Those We Run From, are out now, and you can get a signed copy from Charis. If you're watching today, we'll send it to you. Under the name Lindsay Evans, Fiona has also written 11 novels of heterosexual romance for Harlequin, as well as 3 self-published projects. Lindsay's website is lindsayEvanswrites.com. Fiona's writing interests include highlighting Black sapphic stories, immigrant lives, and the exploration of self through travel. She also likes cheese, pastries, and Mini Coopers. And she's joined today by her friend and Charis friend, Anondra Cat Williams. Cat is a writer, poet, radio host, and all-around lover of words. She made her literary debut in 2011 with Black Girl Love, a collection of short stories and poetry that beautifully captures the everyday love and lives of women who love women. Since then, she has authored 5 more books, with her latest, Small Town Moons, also available today, bringing Black lesbian werewolves to the forefront of speculative fiction. Beyond writing, Cat has been a powerful voice in the community as the host of Sipping on Ink. She provided a platform for artists and writers to share their stories and create journeys. In 2009, she founded the Shades Retreat, Personal You, an empowerment, growth, and change retreat for queer women of color that thrived for a decade. Through her words, storytelling, and advocacy, Cat continues to inspire and uplift, weaving narratives that celebrate love, identity, and transformation. So thank y'all both for being here. Thanks to everybody who is watching. Fiona is coming to us live from Spain, and Kat is coming to us from Mississippi. So we have a really fun international situation today. So I am going to get out of the way and encourage y'all, if you're watching from home, if you want to put your questions in the chat at any time you can, because we will have a Q&A towards the end. So welcome, y'all. I'm going to kick it over to you, Kat, and we're going to get right into celebrating Eve Falls First.
All right. Thank you so much, ER. And I am blessed to be here with Fiona. I mean, when I was invited to this conversation, they said, Kat, will you? And I'm like, of course. It's Fiona. And I always celebrate you, love. Now, I will tell everybody, since Fiona and I are friends, some of the questions may be a little odd. Just bear with us, because I know maybe more than you do. And I'm trying to get you some information. So hush and join in on it. And
I'm not getting nervous, okay?
No. I'll tell business now. Now, I am perimenopausal. So if I'm a little dewy and sweaty, ignore it. I still look good, and Fiona looks beautiful. So we are here for you. And because, ER, I did throw in that Sipping on Ink. And that was a beautiful bio. I didn't realize I was even doing all that. And I didn't realize Fiona was doing all that. So, it's beautiful to have the light shined. But thank you to everyone who's tuned in today. We're going to get into Fiona. We're going to get into the book. And we're going to get into you and any questions that you may have. But let's first start out with, when I did Sipping on Ink, I was having flashbacks. And, with Sipping on Ink, we always started out the first question of the night with the easiest question of the night, or the day in this case.
Or the hardest, depending on how you see it.
I prep you. So who is Fiona Zedde?
Yeah, you did sort of prep me, but that wasn't really a prep. It's like you know what I mean? Anyway, so in terms of who is Fiona, who knows? Like, I think like right now I'm sort of undergoing this a transformation, but to the sort of like, generic response is I'm a writer, I'm a traveler, and I'm a seeker of new experiences and sensations, and that's
Ooh.
right now what it is. Yeah, I feel like I'm evolving, and I'm not sure in what direction or in exactly into what, but I just feel like I'm in this moment of change.
Hmm. So is it a season of change? Is it you mentioned senses and taste, and I'm assuming sights. Are we looking at a move, or is it just the way that you're looking at life, how you're tasting life, viewing life, all those things?
I think it's perception. I'm not gonna move anytime soon. I'm very much interested, as always, in seeing like new places, visiting new countries. I'm more open-minded to certain cuisines than I had been in the past. Like before, I used to hate French food, and I sort of still hate Spanish food. But I'm open to enjoying both if there are things to enjoy in both cuisines. And I'm also just, feeling not so rigid and fixed as I had been before. And like, maybe I had this idea of who I was, and now I'm like, well, that could be more loosely interpreted. So I feel like I'm just like, in the sort of opposite way that I feel like people say when you get older, you get more rigid and more fixed in your opinions and things like that. I feel like I'm just like I'm flowing a little bit more these days.
I find that fascinating because I actually think the opposite. I think as I'm aging, I'm actually opening myself up to more because I have more experience to base it upon. So why go
Mm.
closed when actually at this point I should be like, oh, let me just jump in the water, as long as it's not salt water
That's
because I
wide
don't like
open.
salt water.
Yes. Mm.
Right. I dig it. I
Yes.
dig it.
Yes.
So now, because I know you, again, dear listeners, I do know Fiona quite well. She's one of the few people in the world that I consider, well, that I say, if you ask me, who do you love? I love Fiona Zedde. So, with that being said, when are we going to get a coffee table book of your photos? Because you and I both know that you are a amazing photographer, not only a writer, but a photographer.
That came out of nowhere, but never.
I was trying to help us out, y'all. I was trying to help us out. She travels and she takes these amazing photos and she curates them. She really takes very good, beautiful photos with that
Well,
speak
thank you, Kat.
and
Thank
never
you.
and never.
Never, never. I mean, it's just a hobby. Like I love taking photos, and if I take it too seriously, I might not have as much pleasure in it. You know what I mean? A
Okay.
friend of mine was trying to get me to sell my pictures, and I thought about it for like 5 seconds, but I'm like, I don't want to go on, the stock photo sites and do all this and that other thing, and just be worried about is someone going to like it enough to pay for it? Oh my god, you know what I mean? It's a different sort of level of appreciation and involvement and enjoyment. So I thought about it. I even like put it somewhere, but I realized that that's not my thing. It gives me pleasure, and so I don't feel like I need to monetize it.
Perfect. Okay. That answers my question. So I will just keep saying send me pictures. And I'm sorry for you, dear listeners, who cannot see those amazing photos. Maybe she will add them to her Patron. And that you have a Patreon, right?
I do have a Patreon account. The people on there probably hate me right now because I haven't been as consistent with sending stuff. Like I used to send, postcards. I was a postcard like right near me. Hold on, this is really random, but this is my writing area. So I would go visit places, and then I would buy postcards and I would send them to my Patreon supporters. And so, like, I was in Segovia and I did like a hot air balloon ride and like got this cute postcard, so sweet.
See?
And when I was in Barcelona briefly, I said I bought this one to send to people too. And they're still in this little bag. So my Patreon, it's still up there and doing its Patreon-y thing. And I'm gonna revamp it. But right now, what I'm doing is I'm sending snippets of like a work in progress.
Okay.
Uh, And in terms of like evolving, I'm working on this sort of like a dark lesbian romance where the main character is like a bad guy kind of thing. So I'm experimenting with that over on my Patreon, for example, and I like send chapters as they're written so people can read it and see how it evolves. Like I think the first chapter was in first person and the second chapter was told in like third close. And so just to sort of like get their idea of what feels better to them as a reader. So yeah.
See, so maybe there are people who are on Fiona's Patreon, which he's going to provide a link for. You may get some pictures. I get them because I'm her friend and I ask for them. Now she doesn't voluntarily send them. I have to, hey, I know you took some pictures, send me a dang picture. Good gosh, it's not that hard, but you know.
She is an asker of pictures, that is for sure. Or just asking whatever she wants in general, which I appreciate. Sometimes I'm like, you want what? Oh, okay, sure, why not?
I mean, I want to see things that people don't think about. Yeah.
True.
Yeah. So now we've given her a task. We got to get that picture on up.
Yeah, I'll try to do the link because this keyboard is so tiny. I don't know, but I'll do it on there. I'll do it. I'll send it.
All right. So we've gotten a little bit. If you didn't know, listeners, that Fiona does art in all shape, forms, and fashion, not only writing but photography. And again, if you join our Patreon, you may get a chance to see a snippet of that. So let's get into the writing style. Not the book yet. We're going to get into your writing style since you talked about first person and third person. Now, most of the time, I ask writers, what type of advice would you give, right, to new writers out there? I'm not going to ask that question because we went over that. What I do want to know, though, is what advice have you gotten that you actually use from a random or someone you admire, or just you read it and like, I'm going to implement that from me and my writing style?
One of the things that someone taught or mentioned that was really helpful for them was like, editing to actually like, when you're editing when you have a whole version of the book, go ahead and just like get rid of the first chapter. Because usually the first chapter, you're just like writing into the story and like start the book on the second chapter. And It was great advice that served me well when I was editing Bliss. Because Bliss, with the first version of it, like the first, maybe not the first chapter, but the first maybe few sentences and sections were very much describing what was happening. It was very descriptive. But when I went back and just got rid of that first section, it starts off with, I think, with Bliss in the elevator. And it was a more sort of immediate, like diving into her story and into her mind. And so like that, at that moment, that was perfect advice. These days I'm doing this sort of editing where like I write and then I finalize the first chapter and then I move on. So I don't do as much wholesale changes as I was doing when I was first writing. But like, yeah, when you're writing into the story, sometimes you're just, you're spouting nonsense. You're just like, oh, it was a windy day and her skirt was flying. And then the next chapter is, she chased her cheating ex down the road. And then that brings the readers more into the story immediately instead of like the wind in her dress, Okay,
I get it. So it's more of a, you would liken it to almost if you're a new writer and you're worried, or just, editing in general, think along that prophecy, or that, not prophecy, that line of thinking. And it served you, obviously, because Bliss is the best and it blew you up. I mean, it's who Fiona Zedde is, right? It's how I was introduced to you. An ex of mine, someone I love dearly. If you're watching this, whatever. She introduced me to Bliss. We actually read it together as a couple. So we did. But still, if you're watching this, whatever. But thank you for introducing me to Fiona, who has become one of my lifelong friends. Anyway, so we got that. My next question, because ER did mention that you in their introduction of you, that everything that you do tend to write from a Black lesbian sapphic perspective, right? But
Mm-hmm.
how does that, what role does that play? Like, are you in particular writing that because it's you and how you've moved through the world, the people that you know, like me, Black lesbian? Or is it just that, is it easier to write from that perspective for you now? Or was it just because you wanted to see more of us in the world? What's your angle behind that, I guess?
So, like in the beginning, it was like I was writing stories about people that were like me. Like when I started writing at like, I don't know, when I started writing for publishing at 22 or whatever it was, I was like, I don't see too many stories about Black, queer, immigrant women. Like, I want to
Immigrant.
get those out because I want to read about people like me. And like, my attention has never wavered from that, even while my own identity has shifted. But I just feel like, there are enough sort of straight stories. There are enough like, other types. And even though right now in publishing is experiencing this amazing flowering of sapphic and Black stories, there can never be too many because we're
Never.
still just a small portion in what's published out there. But like, and I love to see these new writers and their new stories, their old stories, their cheating stories, their all of these. But like, yeah, I just love us and I love writing these stories. And while I do write under Lindsay Evans and I do write straight, I like when I'm writing sometimes like a straight storyline, I'm like, oh, how boring are they? So my interest is more in like the queer Black immigrants, like
So
characters.
speaking of queer and Black, are there any particular writers that are in that sphere that you particularly enjoy that you would recommend for anyone? Besides me, of
Right
course.
now I'm reading like Eric Alexander.
Okay.
Of course,
Not the author.
I,
I mean, not the actress, right?
no, it's her name is spelled like Arick or something like that. Like she publishes on Kindle Unlimited, and right now she's writing a series on like a about a what do you call it? I'm so bad at this. Sports, a basketball team, a women's basketball team in Louisiana. There we go. And I think she's like 3 stories deep right now into that. But then she publishes pretty frequently, and so she's one that I've been enjoying. And then don't ask me titles because I'm shitty at that, but I can also
All right.
share in the link later. And what's Kiana? Is her name Alexander too? Kiana something. More I've seen her stuff. Haven't read her stuff yet. And then what's her name? This woman, she has books that are out in like a mainstream publisher, and I think her last name is Valdez.
Okay.
And she's writing like a small town romance series, and I think she's got like 3 books in. And again, I can put those in the link later or in the chat later.
Okay.
But like, yeah.
Okay.
So it's good. It's good to have like more options. I remember back in the day, it was just like, I guess we'll wait, 2 years for another, queer Black book to come out.
I know,
or lesbian
right?
Black book to come out. Now it's like boom, 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 boom.
Every
And
day.
it's nice. Yeah, yeah. And of course, we can't forget Cheryl Clark, right? Cheryl, not the poet.
Right. Hey, Cheryl.
Her name's Nicole, right? Cheryl N. Clark.
Yeah, Ian Clark.
But, yeah. She has a couple of new books out right now, I think. Yeah, and I think she's also doing that in a Kindle Unlimited. So yeah, like I just love the women's basketball series right now. Like that's what I'm like. So.
Now, some people have a problem with Kindle, right? I don't, and I'll stand 10 toes down. That's okay, because to me, self-publishing, which Kindle came and stole, But it opened the market though. It opened up for all the readers and writers, or actually all the writers that you just mentioned. I'm assuming some of those people did start out on the smaller platforms of self-publishing. However, what's your stance today after watching self-publishing evolve over the last, like, say, 10 to 15 years?
I can say, like, as a person who's a hybrid publisher, like I work with two publishers, but I also self-publish my work. Ooh, let me do some promo, y'all.
Exactly.
Is with my German publisher Ilva, and up here, Those You Run From is a self-published novel I did in collaboration with a few other sapphic authors, and it's a collection of 9 sapphic stories. They're all like romantic suspense, and so it gave us a chance to publish our books, or like have the story, write it, have it edited, and it's out within a short amount of time versus the usual like long turnover when you do how do you say, like traditional publishing. And so once you invest in your editor, your book cover, and all these things, and when the money starts coming in, like it's all yours. Like when you're with a publisher, you know, you're sharing the profits with them, and like those are two things that like you can start earning a living right away and sharing your stories right away. As a writer, like I love that. I love that. It helps you to, you know, pay your mortgage, pay your rent, pay your pay for your ice cream, like Reddit. In terms of like Amazon as a business, they stock, you know. But I do feel like too, like these boycotts are not affecting them. Like for so many people, the default for ordering anything online is Amazon. People are like hard pressed to think of a different alternative when they're like, let me order this box of soap, you know, Amazon. Let me order a book, Amazon. Let me order, you know what I mean? Like they have, what's the thing, Alexa in their homes. Like I do understand. But I'm like, I'm not about the boycott because you're not hurting Amazon by any means. Because a lot of folks either can't sustain the boycott, or they're just like, or they don't sustain the boycott. I shouldn't say can't. They just don't sustain it. And they're like, okay, I won't buy from them for like, you know, 6 months or whatever the boycott period is. And then they come back harder. You know, in the meantime, they're boycotting, and the writers who they didn't support while they didn't have their KU subscription or whatever, they lost money for those months. You know, they weren't able to, you know, make a living or make a decent living. Because like there's some people who are talking about like potentially going back to a 9-to-5 because their earnings dropped so much when people did the boycott. So, I mean, as a writer and a reader both, and a consumer, I'm of two minds with it. I acknowledge the necessity for entrepreneurs, literally like artistic entrepreneurs like me, who want to, you know, write our books and sell them and have them available. But I also acknowledge that they are a terrible business. They have their terrible business practices, and even like in terms of the author, like they implement things like randomly where you're like, what? You know, they don't make any sense for us. But it's like we don't really have anywhere else to go necessarily. I mean, I publish also on Apple, but
who goes there? Nobody talks about it. And people always say, they always say boycott, but they don't say what they're going to do. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
People go there. People buy from Apple. Anyway, okay. I won't press the issue. That's all I gotta say. I'll keep moving.
They buy. Next question. They buy. They could buy more, but they buy. Okay. All right. That's all I'm saying. That's all I wanted the audience to get. That when you boycott, sometimes it's not always it's not always a great thing. And because the market has shifted, the world has shifted. We are finally getting back to mom and pop bookstores. Finally. But that's going to be a big shift too. That's going to take time. It's not going to be tomorrow. So support your authors. If you like the author, buy the book. Well, you got to buy the book. You can go buy it at Charis Books and More. Walk in there and support them as well. Plug, plug,
It's
plug. Because that's what we're here for. Because Charis is the reason why we are here today. Exactly. Well, Fiona too, but they set this up and stuff. So let's get into the book. I made some notes. Let me tell you. Let me just start out by saying Fiona and I are friends, and we've had conversations. And she says, "Kat, I can't write this sex
I'm
scene."
nervous, but go ahead.
She said, "Kat, I can't write this sex scene. I don't get it. These sex scenes. We both have a menopausal moments over here, so be quiet, y'all. Be quiet." But she says, "Kat, these sex scenes, and let me tell you something, sis. That's a tale. Because, honey, every sex scene in this book is outstanding. And I don't even like sex scenes, y'all. I don't do erotica anymore. I'm old. My bones don't move. I ain't fluid like that used to be. But this, every scene, I was like, do I know the person that wrote this? Okay. Anyway, let's get into this book. Now, Eve falls first. Again, you can buy this at Charis Books and More. Go there first to buy this book. You can get an autographed copy today if you purchase during this interview conversation. So remember that. You can get an autographed copy all the way from Spain. Yeah, all the way from Spain. Anyway, all that to say, who wanted to tell their story first? Eve or Scarlet?
Definitely Scarlet.
That's what I thought too.
Definitely Scarlet. Yeah. I don't know why, but she jumped. Even though Eve has the title of the book, and I feel like she was like this vibrant star throughout the entire writing experience. And when I was rereading it, like the reading, I was like, she's just like, I don't know, like pop rocks in your mouth or something. Like, wow, But like, Scarlet was so grounding, and like she was telling the story about her divorce and like having a child and being child free at first, and then having her ex convince her to have a baby, and you know what I mean, like this entire thing, like she wanted to be heard, and so she came out first, like out the gate, like engaging me and like wanting me to tell her story. And so she was just really strong to me, despite the fact that I think that Eve has a more stronger personality in the story, or more effervescent personality in this story.
I mean, is that you? Because again, this is an age gap romance, y'all. So is that what that is that you're getting from Eve? That effervescent, that bubbles, those youth bubbles. Because I ain't bubbling no more. I may be sizzling. Low sizzle.
I mean, maybe. Like, it was fun. Like, I have written some age gap stories before, but, like, none that are as sort of joyful. Because I remember when I was in my 20s and doing, like, crazy shit and, like, trying to... There was a woman, I think I was 22, and she was, like, 30-something, and I was, like, determined she was gonna be mine. And now I'm, like, looking back, like, girl, what?
Right.
Just doing too much. Like, I was the definition of doing too much in my 20s when I was trying to chase this poor woman. But I wanted to bring that to Eve. Like, her personality and the way she was just like a hunter in the woods. Like,
I got that. Eve said, that's mine, and I want it. And I've seen it, and I'm going to put myself out there. And she did it. I mean, she did what she wanted to do. I just, an age gap romance, I'm just like, ooh, I'm at that age where I could do that. And I don't want to do that because I feel a little funny. But reading the story, I was like, maybe I should rethink some things. I don't know. But that,
also,
I don't know.
Some things are fiction, but in real life, you're just like, I don't know.
Right.
Fiction is great. Real life.
But you're selling it to me, though. And I was like, maybe I should rethink some things. Because Eve and Scarlet, I don't know. Maybe I can meet a Scarlet. Maybe I can meet an Eve. I don't know. I can go either direction. I'm at that age. But anyway, I was like, an age gap. Okay. All right. Now, I will say this. While reading the book, and I'm aging myself here a little bit, but not really, because you actually do write Harlequin romances. I felt it was very Harlequin romance. And let me say that not in a bad way. It was in a I grew up in the 80s reading Harlequin romance novels, but I never saw me, a black woman. And I obviously didn't see anybody queer because I don't even know what queer was at that point. So reading it, I was like, this is what I wanted when I was 13 and 14. And I was formulating who I might be as a woman, a lover, in the future. You know what I'm saying? Because those books really do set you up for how you approach relationships. Let's be honest, we believe in them stupid plots. This plot was a little bit more realistic, a little bit age gappy, but still, I was like, did you write it from that angle? I wanted it to be a really good romance novel, but age gap, Harlequin, fine lesbians.
Well, like, yeah, I don't really separate when I do like Harlequin versus another kind, but I do know when I went into the story, I was wanting something that was like sweet and bubbly, and that was also just a joyful read, like zero or very low drama, no angst, no blood flying around, no dead bodies, no like, nothing too intense. And so the first version of the book had more intense things happening, and so this version is definitely like a lighter, it's like a little balloon floating by in your life. But yeah, I definitely didn't have the idea of writing like a Harlequin type book for the sapphic reader or for a lesbian audience or whatever. It just sort of came out. And maybe part of it too is like when you write so much, sometimes your styles mix up, and maybe there was that element in there,
I honestly enjoyed it. So I think that was a good thing. That was not a dig. It was really, I felt like I was coming back home again because I don't read Harlequin romances anymore. But I was like, I feel like I'm reading a Harlequin romance, and I'm happy because Harlequin romances were my gateway drug to reading. You know what I'm saying? Let's be honest. My mom read Harlequin, so I read Harlequins. Yeah, so she reads it, I read it. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed the sex scenes. I gotta keep saying that because they were really, really good. They were really good, y'all. I'm telling you.
Read many. What are you talking about, though?
But they were good. There were teasers. You had some teasers in there, right? That bathroom scene. That bathroom scene. I was there, sis. I was there. And I enjoyed with them. That's all I'm gonna say, y'all. Read the bathroom scene and come back to me and say, Kat, Anondra, you were right. And then tell Fiona to keep writing them just like that. Keep on writing them just like that. Now, we've talked about the age gap. We've talked about the sex scenes a little bit. We've talked about the fact that it could be a little harder than romance. I think it's a perfect summer read. I think it's a great light read. You can do it in about 3 to 4 hours with a good cup of coffee, wine, liquor, tequila, whatever you want to do. Pisco sour, because, I had that like recently. But did anything surprise you while writing this story? Did you find anything like the characters or even you and the way you edited it at the end? Because you said it was darker.
No, I think one thing that surprised me was the character Quinn, who was the Scarlet's ex. At the beginning, I meant for her to have like bad things happen and like her to have this karma stuff happen to her.
Right.
At the end, her being like off in a corner crying while everyone is happy. And what surprised me was I did not want that for her. Like when I finished like putting everyone through all their dramas, mini dramas, not a lot of dramas,
right,
enough dramas. When it came time to sort of like wrapping up the story and like following where she was going, I was surprised by the fact that like it felt more natural to give her a softer landing than planned. Yep. Instead of having to like punch her in the face and kick her out of the story, like it was the urge to make her journey, the end of her journey, like a softer one, like surprised me quite a bit.
Funny enough, her character, I did have a question about it because I wasn't sure if I liked her or didn't like her. Right? I was like, it's true. She almost read like a YouTube couple, your favorite lesbian YouTube couple, and they broke up, right? And you got to figure out which one you're going to hang with afterwards. And I went with Scarlet mainly because she was fine. You know what I'm saying? Let's just be honest. You described her very, very well. So I get it. I get it, and I get the soft landing, and I get not, because it's a good romance. Because life doesn't always lend it. A lot of our exes are fine right now, which is surprising. They should not be that great, but they're okay in the world. Yeah, they
Yeah,
doing good.
be happy for them.
Right. They still living and breathing. I mean, we ask, but some dreams are not always guaranteed and granted, but
Right.
that's okay. No, yeah, I didn't know if I like her or not, but I was okay with her. Now, compared to your other work, because you did mention that you've done age gap novels before. You do the straighter work and you've done this work. How does this compare in regards to your other work? Like, where does it fall into place? If a reader is like, where do I start to read? And how does this flow into Fiona's discography of writing?
It's really interesting you asked that because I feel like I've never written anything like this before. Like literally
Oh.
never. The most immediate age gap that I remember is Hungry for It, which is my second or third book. And that book was so intense and so sexual and so like visceral and like raw and beautiful to me. I love that story. The stud was 27, 28, and her femme lover was 50. And the femme lover is her best friend's mom. And so it was like these themes of like, potential loss of friendships, these themes of, okay, you've watched this child, this person grew up from a child, and now they're in your life, wanting to enter your life as a lover. And like Eve, she was also the younger one, was also the one who doing the pursuing. So similar, like age gap, yes, but very, very different, very, very different. Like there were so many different themes going on. There was like some crime, there was cooking, there was like estranged parents, all these different things going on in Hungry for It. And this was just like, none of that stuff. I mean, there were certain things with like families, but nothing that would drag the reader, or not even the reader, like drag the characters down. They're like, this is my life, and yes, some challenging things have happened, but they have challenged me to be better. I'm not like, mired in this heaviness because of these things that have happened in my life. So I feel like this is the happiest book, queer or straight, that I've ever written, like the happiest. And like, and I think like Eve is one of the most unique characters I've ever written. So, and in a sense that they don't compare at all, which I like, because it shows for me that I have growth. I have the capacity to change and just do new things,
Hmm. So you said Eve is one of the more interesting characters that you've written. Why?
Interesting, or just very different. Like I don't think I've ever written anyone quite like her in terms of her. You know what? Maybe part of it is because when I was writing this book, I was like, you know what? I'm going to write a romantic comedy. And when you're approaching writing a romantic comedy from just writing a romance, there are certain things that feel more exaggerated than if you're, it's just like a sort of like a contemporary romance. Like I feel like I did make Eve just this like a fairy, like she loves flowers and she loves, pretty dresses, and she sews, and she's, she agonizes over her milk purchase in the middle of the supermarket, like just sort of things that are exaggerated and cute in a way that, things would be fine in a romantic comedy, but in a contemporary romance would be a little bit out of place, I feel.
So I thought that when you just described Eve, right, and I'm remembering different things. I thought she was complex. So I get it. Even though you mentioned all those lighter things, the fact that she was thinking about milk, the fact that she knows that she puts on a facade for the audience, right? She said, I put on this bubbly, big, big googly eyed girl because this is my hometown. Everybody knows me. It's a small town and things like that. So I can see that. I can see that because you can play with her. She has room to grow and to become even more. I can see the evolution.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely see the evolution of her. I got you. I got you. Now, when I tend to read, I flesh out the characters and I envision them in a way that works for me because I try to even if you describe a character, I still make them fit someone I know, right? Because it's just easier to do that. I do. I didn't have to do that with this book at all. So I found it fascinating that you described them and I could see it very well. But you didn't do what a lot of people expected, or I expected, which is to have really defined masculine and feminine characteristics and dress. Right? You get what I'm saying? So why did you decide not to do that?
I decided to make the main couple a sort of like, femme for femme couple, because in a few books I have been playing around with types of attraction in the Black queer community. And like I do know people tend to think what makes the most sense is like stud femme or mask femme, but that is not what everybody wants, and that's not the totality of us either. So I had like Scarlet's ex was more masculine, and they were that Atlanta couple that was like, the well-dressed mask and like the cute sexy femme, whatever. But Scarlet and Eve together are both feminine women, and they were equally into each other. So I did have the presence of more sort of masculine women in the story, but that wasn't something I was focusing on with this couple, with the sort of awareness that, it's important to represent different types of couples out there. Like not everyone is masked femme, not everyone is, like the typical expectation, rather.
I get it. No, I enjoyed it. I really got it. I almost saw Eve as STEMmy, but that was me. And then I was like, but she's wearing a lot of dresses. So maybe she isn't. But then I thought she could easily go both ways. Because again, she's 24. And she's evolving. I like Eve. But I love Scarlet because, she's a little bit older. I'm a little bit older. You know what I'm saying? I'm fair. You know what I'm saying? Now, if there's a Scarlet out there, holla at your girl. Holla at your girl. Holla at your girl. Exactly. Now, I will say this. This is funny to me. Again, it's Harlequin romance style to me. And I was like, this reads so House Hunters. Mainly because the main character, Scarlet, is a yoga and Pilates instructor who owns a house to buy a business. I'm like, oh, baby, we're going to buy a house that's $1 million. I sell butterflies. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was getting from it. And I was giggling. But I'm like, why can't we have those romance style novels, right? Why can't we be a little bit improbable?
At least she wasn't a florist, all right?
Right? Oh, I'm so tired of florist. Lesbian florist. Please. And not I don't want no more baseball players either. I'm sorry. Well, horse girls. No more horse girls, please, y'all. No more buck-tooth horse girls. Anyway, I enjoy it. Now, one more question before we get into the audience, because I think we have some questions in the chat. Actually, two more questions, then we're going to get into the chat, y'all. Was there a particular scene or chapter that was hard to write? Or one that you didn't enjoy, or one that you enjoyed more than? The bathroom scene for me, but go ahead. That was a good scene.
There was a scene where, I don't know, it was challenging, but it was also in a good way for me. There was a scene where Eve is with her ex and they're having a conversation, and then certain things come to light during this conversation. And like, it's, for me, writing the setting, they were in this house that I won't give anything away, but the conversation was difficult, but it was also like in that scene trying to tie together all the loose ends, all the little threads of like the hints of their past, and trying to like stitch it all together in a way that the readers like, oh yeah, that's what that meant, or oh my god, I had no idea, or like they're building the aha moments, because I planted a few clues about certain things as the story went along, and then so in that particular scene, like having some of the things sort of be like, yes, this is what that meant, and have that like just make sense basically.
Right.
So it was fun, it was a challenge, and it felt like it was rewarding as well. Not the sex scenes for me these days are challenging, but when they turn out well, I'm excited, or I'm happy. I shouldn't say excited. I'm happy.
I'm happy and excited. I'm happy and excited for everything. I'm being, just being honest. We adults here. The sex scene in the bathroom, I've done it before in a pub, so I got it. It happens, y'all. Get you some. Now, this is a light question. I think it's a good question though, because we've talked about how the book is light and frothy, right? Like a little cappuccino, a really good cappuccino, though, right? And Fiona and I do like good coffee and tea, but a good cappuccino. If this book were a song, what song would it be? I know. I blew you up, but go for it.
You know what? It's a good thing that someone already asked me this question, and I already have the answer.
Get y'all. Go ahead.
California Dreaming by Queen Latifah.
I know I've heard it, but it's been years. That was on was that on her jazz album?
It's on her second jazz album called Dana Owens album.
And I know I've heard it then, because that was a nice album.
Song. Her voice is like amazing, and I just heard that song continuously. Like when someone asked me, I was like, yeah, California Dreaming, and her voice and the energy and her dykiness, of course, like whoa, perfect.
And the book is set in California.
Exactly.
Which was an interesting choice. Interesting choice. Again, Pilates and yoga.
Years. So like it was nice to like pull on my previous experience living in like the San Diego area and traveling around like LA and things.
Oh yeah. I mean, why not? Right? When you mention a highway, you've been on it. You can actually envision it, so you can write it a little bit better. So I totally get it. I've lived in California too, so I got it. It fit. Again, the house hunters, yoga, Pilates instructor. I was like, oh, okay. This is the lesbian house hunters. What'd you say?
She's got savings.
She does. And she has child support. We have child support, people. We have child support in the building. So there's always that. The story is fantastic, y'all. It was good. You can ingest it. I giggled. I smiled quite a bit when I was reading it. I looked up and hours had passed, and I was like, oh, okay. This is a good read. I truly enjoyed it. So we're going to get into, I think we have a few questions in the chat, and we're going to get ER back in here too. And somebody said, yes, that is in that album. And let me see if we have any questions. Somebody said, spill the tea. We've been missing all the good stuff in the chat. And I don't see. They just talking, girl. They just talking. Someone says it's a great story. Oh, it is a great story, Donna. It is a great, and you can read it a few times. That is actually a great comment. It's something that you can go to, come back, and you'll probably find something new. Because I know when I tend to read, I can read sort of fast, and then I go back. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that was there. Oh, that's pretty cool. So yeah, that is that. And if anybody has any questions, you can definitely post them in the chat. And if you don't, I have a couple more. I always got a couple questions and stuff. And if you want to purchase the book, we're going to bring you back in. I don't know how to bring them back in. I'm coming. There we go. We're going to sell some books.
Yes. Okay. So you can click this teal button in the bottom center of the screen to buy Eve Falls First, but I also dropped the link higher up in the chat. And I wanted to, this is a good time, Fiona, for you to shout out those we run from, because we booked this event a while ago, and then because you're so prolific, you already came out with another book. So now is the time to shout that one out too.
So those we run from came out I think in May. Right, yeah, mid-May or May 1st, I can't remember. But this is a romantic suspense. So we're all the things that we're missing even Scarlet's story, like blood and guts and drama and guns and more guns. This has it all. It's a romantic suspense story about a retiring assassin that has to run back to Miami and protect her high school sweetheart from a contract that's been put out on her. And so this is a very much a masked femme story. The assassin is very masculine, with short hair and, you know, the wardrobe and of course the hardware. And the femme is very femme. She loves to wear like vintage clothing, but the femme likes to strap it on, and the mask loves to get her situation situated. So yeah, it's a fun read, and it is very much adrenaline fueled. Like they're running from killers. It's also really beautiful. I feel like the setting is beautiful. So yeah, if you're like, I want to have some sweetness, some sugar and light, followed up by some acid and like intense action and thrills, get you both.
Yeah. Sure. And they both will come with signed book plates. So if you get them from Karen, so do that. Donna Williams says, those we run from is great too. My only comment is that it was too short. I wanted it to go on and on.
Oh, so, nice.
Love you.
I also want to shout out Kat's most recent book, which came out last year, and that is Small Town Moons, which is also available from Charis. So I'm going to put that in the chat.
And I'll come in and sign some. If you have a couple of them, I'll come in and sign it.
Yeah. So, Kat, do you want to just say anything more about your werewolf novel?
Oh, you know what? I really wasn't expecting to talk about it. I can't. So thank you. I am not doing the writing that Fiona is doing. I need to get better at it. But Fiona's in my pocket. I always keep her when I need to be motivated and things like that, because obviously she just popped out 2 books. But it's Small Town Moons is vampires and werewolves. It's a love story. It's the start of a love story. I like it. I've been writing on that thing for years, and I finally just pushed it out. Again, I keep Fiona in my corner. Fiona puts out something, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta write too. Not at her level, but I'm getting there. I'm gonna get that one day. I'm gonna get that one day. So check it out. If you like vampires, you like sexy lesbians who turn into werewolves, because I do. I like a hairy cat. You can buy that book.
I love it. Wait.
I love it.
What do y'all do? What do the young ones do?
I don't know, honey. I'm too old. My fingers don't even do that no more. Arthritis. Perimenopause got it sweating.
I know. We do have a couple questions. One, I suspect you're going to say no to, but Crystal says, can you read a short snippet, Fiona? I know you don't love to read, but.
I can read like super short. Absolutely.
Okay. Cool.
The bathroom scene.
But also, keep in mind how much time we have left. I don't want to go over.
We got 7 minutes left. So.
Yeah, we got time.
What's the other question?
The other question is, what was this book like? Was this book like writing others, or were there any challenges? And what's next?
So writing this book was a whole challenge in the fact that the first version was horrible, because I was going through a very intense health challenge. So I had to throw away the entire first version. And then I wrote this book in like a month or two, like this version. And so it was interesting. Let's just say that. But yeah, like the trying to be creative when you're ill is like, it's impossible. So that was the sort of the nature of the challenge for me when I was writing the first version of Eve Falls First. And when I was able to be better and had my mind, I was able to think again. Then I was able to write this sort of like coming out of the darkness sort of book, you know?
That's why it's so good, because it's such a good light read. If you're going to the beach, you're going on a cruise this summer, you have to have this with you. You will be blessed to have it. Not
This
blessed,
woman
because we
loves
haven't seen that.
cruises. I don't get it. You love cruises, Kat.
Why not? They feed me, they change my linen. If they just wipe my butt, it'd be heaven. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what else can I? The food is delivered. I walk to it. I come back. My room is clean. There's beautiful scenery. People walk around in big bathing suits. There's ass and tits everywhere. Why not? What are you talking about?
2 minutes.
Let's do it, Fiona.
Okay. Oh my gosh, it's 59 seconds. Oh, wait. Okay. There. This is from chapter 2. Scarlet Hunt spoke to her. And then at the door, she'd wished Eve a better night. Oh my God. Better did not exist. Not better than the Scarlet Hunt, officially and unofficially, the most stunning parent currently at Hurston Cove Middle, talking to Eve not once, but twice in a single night. Okay, yeah. Eve was the one who initiated both conversations, but wow. On tippy toes, she twirled away from the theater's back door after Scarlet left, imagining that she was wearing one of her poofy dresses instead of her favorite jeans and the floral Laura Ashley blouse she bought to be ironic, but later realized was just plain ugly. They looked into each other's eyes and talked about the garden. Scarlet had given Eve her phone number. Well, she'd given the school her number, but Eve could use it if she wanted to. Well, if she wanted to get fired. Right. Her floating substitute teacher job wasn't much, but it was all she had right now. Getting caught being a creep would just be the icing on her bad decisions shit cake. Eve bit the inside of her lip as she made it down to the front of the theater, where only a few people were left. Most of the other parents had escaped as soon as the meeting was over. Abby and a couple of the other members stood in the middle of the stage with their heads bent together, probably obsessing over something Eve didn't care about. Her flats patted softly against the floor of the theater, nearly silent. But as she drew closer to the cabal on the stage, Abby looked up. She said something to the others, then quickly approached Eve. Are all the positions filled? Abby tipped her chin at the clipboard in Eve's hands. Most of them, yeah. Eve handed over the clipboard before Abby could ask for it, the pages fluttering in the freezing air conditioning of the room. Scarlet Hunt signed up for something? Eyes burning to Eve, Abby didn't look up from the sign-up sheet. A frown wrinkled Eve's forehead, but she quickly smoothed it away. How did Abby know without looking at the sheet? Had she been watching them? Yeah, she had a question about her daughter coming to her to help out. Her number's on there for a callback. Abby grunted. I saw you staring at her earlier. The woman's full lips tightened and her eyes glittered with sharpness. We don't allow that kind of thing here. That's it.
I remember that scene. Yes, I remember that scene. And I was like, where's this going? And I was like, I don't know. So, yeah.
And pardon for my not great reading. I have a cold. And I wasn't ready.
You did great. Thank you.
No, you did fantastic. Because I was actually reading along with you. And I remember it was perfect. It was perfect. So we are coming to an end here. And I know, ER, you probably got to sell some more. But I just have one more question. What do you want readers to walk away from when they read this book, Fiona? And then, what energy or feeling? And then we'll shut her down.
Like joyfulness, like whether it's the sensation of like opening up like a typical Harlequin style love story and just like leaving it with like love exists with a sexy younger chick for me, maybe potentially, or just like something to carry with you on the cruise or sit by the pool, just something like a little piece of happiness in your pocket. Like that's what I want people to take away when they like finish reading the book, or when they're in the midst of reading the book, like happiness, joy, something just bright. That's it. Nothing too deep.
You remember that cheesecake we had in Turkey and the tea and coffee that we were having that day, sitting outside that church and everybody's walking by? Yeah, that's the book. That's the book. That's the book. It was a great
It's good cheese.
cheesecake.
It
It
was
was a
funny because it's actually
beautiful.
like it was cheesecake too.
Yeah, we had the chocolate sauce on it. We had great tea, the Turkish
Was it
tea.
fast? That was
That's
good.
the book, y'all. Get
Thank
the
you.
book. Buy the book from Charis Books and More. Tell them you're going to buy it from Charis Books and More. Get it signed. Get my book from there. Support us. For us, by
Thank you.
us. Go in Atlanta. Go online to the website. Go join Fiona's Patreon. So maybe she'll send some pictures that she takes along her route or her travels rather. And yeah, I enjoyed the book, y'all. I am recommending it. Your next cruise, your next vacation, your next lunch break, right? Your next laying in the bed watching TV. Pick up the book instead. You can get it on the Kindle app as well. You can buy. Can you buy it from Karis and then upload it to your Kindle app?
I don't know. They used to in the
Upload
past,
it
but I
to
don't think anymore.
your phone. You can just read it on your phone as an ebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do that, y'all. Every which way. If you have a complaint, you don't want to buy it from Amazon. You don't gotta buy it from Amazon, y'all. We got Karis Books and More right here in your face. Buy it. Support us. Buy us. And I'm good. And the new book too. Shout to the name of the new book again, Fiona.
Those we run from. If you want some like mask femme hotness with like chases and adrenaline, you can like
And
mix and
36.
match.
And dirty sex, right? In both? Good sex. Good
I
sex
mean,
in both.
there is some sensuality to both books. Yes.
Good sex.
All right,
I
y'all.
go for good sex in all books. All right. Thank you all for joining us today. I had a blast. Invite me again. I'd love to do this again.
Yeah,
ER.
you know we love you, and we will definitely have you back. Thank you so much. So glad to see you after a long time, Fiona.
Yes.
Beautiful as always. Thank you. We miss
Thank
you in
you for
Atlanta.
having me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Take
Thank
good
you to
care.
everyone in the listening audience as well. Appreciate you showing up today
Thank you
in the middle of a beautiful
for taking me
Saturday.
out.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.